My name is Alexandra Chen, and at 32, I shattered expectations to become the youngest vice president of operations at Johnson Corp. Every time I swiped my keycard for access to the executive floor, I felt a surge of pride. That pride kept me grounded until my carefully constructed world started unraveling, all thanks to my mother-in-law Helen and her whirlwind romance with our 60-year-old CEO. Another stellar quarter, Alex, Tom Johnson had said 3 months ago during my last performance review. His tone had been warm, his admiration genuine. Your supply chain overhaul saved us millions. You've set a new standard. I'd walked out of that meeting with my head held high, finally silencing the whispers about being too young, too ambitious, too much. Fast forward to now, I'm standing in a same office, but this time, Tom isn't alone. Helen sits beside him, her diamond wedding ring glittering in the morning light. It's the same ring she flashed around at their Vegas wedding last weekend, where my husband Mark and I were barely considered afterthoughts, shoved into the second row. Alexandra, darling, Helen begins, her syrupy tone barely masking the steel beneath it. It's the same tone she uses at family dinners to disguise her insults as advice. Tom and I have been discussing some organizational updates. My stomach knots, but I maintain a steady expression. Helen's been dropping hints for months, ever since she started dating Tom, about modernizing the company. I just didn't realize her vision of modernization would bulldoze my career. We're bringing in fresh perspectives, Tom says, though his eyes don't quite meet mine. He looks diminished, like a man who's seated the driver's seat. Helen has some incredible ideas for the company's future. Before I can respond, the door opens. My sister-in-law Melissa strides in, her designer suit still sporting the tags at her wrist. She's been chronically unemployed since dropping out of her MBA program 2 years ago, spending her time building a lackluster lifestyle blog. Melissa will be joining as co-vice president of operations, Helen declares, smiling at her daughter as though she's just crowned her royalty. We thought it best for her to work closely with you before transitioning to full leadership. Co-vice president. The words are out before I can stop them. Somehow, my voice stays even, masking the turmoil beneath. It's more of a mentorship, Melissa chimes in, plopping into the chair beside me as if it's always been hers. Mom, sorry Helen. Thinks I should shadow you for a while before fully taking over. You've done such a great job laying the groundwork. Taking over completely. The phrase lands like a punch. 5 years of 60-hour weeks, missed holidays, and endless proving of myself, being handed over to someone whose resume is as empty as her blog's comment section. After all, we're family, Helen cuts in with a pointed smile. And family helps family, don't they? I've heard that phrase too many times before. Like when Helen borrowed my house for Melissa's failed jewelry business launch and left me with wine-stained carpets, or when she suggested I hand over my handbag because Melissa needed it for interviews she never went to. I take a deep breath, forcing my hands to unclench. When does this transition begin? Today. Melissa chirps, pulling out a rose gold laptop like she's about to revolutionize corporate strategy. I already have ideas. The supply chain stuff is so boring. We should focus on social media. Maybe start a company TikTok. Tom flinches slightly, but Helen's hand on his arm silences him. We're counting on you to help Melissa acclimate, she says, her tone making it clear this isn't a request. I rise, smoothing my skirt. If you'll excuse me, I have a supplier meeting in 5 minutes. Perfect. Melissa springs up, trailing me out of the office. I'll come with you. Shadowing starts now. As we walk down the hall, her voice droning on about hashtags and influencers, I catch my reflection in the glass walls. Polished, professional, resilient, the woman I worked so hard to become. But behind me, Helen's smug satisfaction gleams like a victory flag. They think I'll just roll over. They think I'll let them take everything I've built. They have no idea who they're dealing with. The supplier meeting was a disaster. I sat silently, my jaw clenched as Melissa derailed our largest vendor's presentation with questions about their social media aesthetic and whether they considered doing unboxing videos. Mr. Chen, our most reliable supplier and a partner I'd worked with for 3 years to streamline our Asian manufacturing operations, kept throwing me uneasy glances. Perhaps we should return to the key 3 projections, I interjected, trying to salvage the meeting, but Melissa cut me off. Actually, I have a great idea, she chirped, twirling a strand of hair. Why don't we ditch all these big suppliers and move production to those cute little artisans I follow on Instagram? Think of the content. After the meeting, Mr. Chen pulled me aside. Ms. Chen, he said quietly, his face clouded with concern. Is everything all right? These changes seem unusual. I forced a smile, swallowing my frustration. Just a temporary adjustment. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Back in my office, now a shared space thanks to Melissa, I found her perched at the conference table, which was now decorated with a massive rose gold Boss Babe sign. I resisted the urge to throw it out the window and instead started documenting everything. Every unprofessional comment, every botched decision, every potential policy violation. Alexandra, Melissa burst in, waving her phone excitedly. Mom just texted, "We're having a special executive dinner tonight at La Maison. Tom's announcing my promotion to the board." My stomach dropped. "Promotion? You've been here for 1 day." "Well, yeah," she said, as though it were obvious. "But Mom says I'm ready for more responsibility. This operations stuff is super basic anyway. Anyone could do it." I thought of the years I'd spent getting my MBA while working full-time, the sleepless nights spent fine-tuning supply chain models, and the painstaking relationships I'd built with our suppliers. That evening, I walked into La Maison to find the executive team gathered around Helen, who sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court. Tom was beside her, his discomfort visible in the tight set of his jaw. "Alexandra, darling," Helen called out, her voice dripping with condescension. "We were just talking about Melissa's brilliant idea to restructure our supply chain. Isn't she remarkable?" I kept my tone even. "Restructure?" I wasn't aware of any plans to restructure. "Oh, don't worry about it," Melissa said breezily, waving a hand. "I've got it all figured out. We'll cancel those boring overseas contracts and work with local influencers instead. Imagine the Instagram engagement. Those contracts account for millions in inventory and binding legal obligations," pointed out. "Breaking them could bankrupt the company." Helen's smile tightened. "Now, Alexandra, don't be difficult. Melissa's ideas are fresh and forward-thinking. Sometimes the old ways need to change." I noticed a few board members exchanging worried glances. At least not everyone had been fully won over by Helen's charm offensive. Later that night, I found an email from David, our CFO. "Can we meet privately? Concerns about recent developments." The next morning, I met David in the corporate gym, one of the few places I knew Helen and Melissa would never set foot. "This is bad, Alex," he said, wiping sweat from his brow between sets. "Helen's already pushed through changes without board approval. Melissa's overseeing 3 major accounts, and today's trading numbers look troubling." I showed him my growing stack of documentation. "This isn't just about me anymore. They're jeopardizing the company's future." "Keep gathering evidence," David advised. "But watch your back." Sarah from legal tried to push back on the contract violations. She was fired this morning. Back in my office, I heard Melissa on a conference call with our biggest client. "Oh no, we're completely changing direction," she said, her voice oozing confidence. "Alexandra's outdated strategies are out. We're going for a younger, millennial-friendly vibe now." I froze as I watched our stock price drop 3% in real time. When I tried to intervene, Helen appeared, as though summoned by my frustration. "Alexandra, dear," she said, her voice steely beneath her smile. "Melissa needs room to grow. Why don't you take a few days off? Paid vacation, of course." Moments later, security was escorting me out. Apparently, Helen's idea of a vacation also involved revoking my building access. As I sat in my car, staring at my cracked phone screen, a message from Mark popped up. "Mom says you're causing problems at work. Why can't you just support Melissa?" I gripped the phone so tightly it cracked further. Fine. They wanted me out of the way. They thought I'd just roll over and let them destroy everything I built. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I had 3 days to save my company, and I knew exactly where to start. From my home office, I launched my counterattack. First, I emailed the board members every piece of documentation I collected, screenshots of Melissa's disastrous client calls, charts showing the stock price plummeting, and projections of the catastrophic losses her decisions would cause. Then I called Mr. Chen. "The rumors are true," I confirmed. "They're planning to break our contracts. But I have a proposition for you." The next day, while I was supposedly on vacation, Mr. Chen exercised his right as our largest supplier to request an emergency board meeting. Helen couldn't block it. I wasn't in the room, but David kept me updated via text. Chen is showing them everything. Projected losses from broken contracts, $50 million. Stock price down 7% since Melissa started. 3 major clients threatening to leave. A few minutes later, Helen trying to dismiss concerns. Board not buying it. Tom finally speaking up. Then, emergency executive session called. Get ready. My phone rang. It was Tom. Alexandra. He sounded older, more tired than I ever heard him. Can you come in? Now? I smiled despite myself. I thought I was on vacation. Security will let you up, he said quietly. Please hurry. Walking into the boardroom felt like stepping into a battlefield after the dust had settled. Helen's face was flushed with rage, Melissa was sobbing, and the board members sat stone-faced around the table. How dare you go behind our backs? Helen spat as soon as she saw me. But Tom raised his hand, cutting her off. Enough, Helen. His voice carried a weight I hadn't heard in years. The board has voted. Your position as president is terminated, effective immediately. You can't do this, Helen shrieked. I'm your wife. And I was a fool to let that cloud my judgment, Tom said evenly. Then he turned to me. Alexandra, the board would like to reinstate you as vice president of operations, with additional oversight of strategic planning. That is, if you're willing. Before I could respond, Melissa leaped to her feet. This isn't fair. I had plans. I was going to make us viral on TikTok. Your plans nearly destroyed this company, one board member snapped. We've lost millions in market value in just 3 days. But I'm family, Melissa wailed. No, I said firmly, my voice cutting through the tension. You're not. Family doesn't try to destroy what others have built. Family doesn't use relationships as weapons. And family certainly doesn't value social media clout over people's livelihoods. I turned back to Tom. I'll accept the position on 2 conditions. First, a full audit of all decisions made during Helen's tenure as president. Second, a new nepotism policy to ensure this never happens again. Agreed, Tom said without hesitation. Then he looked at Helen. And Helen, we need to discuss our personal situation as well. As security escorted Helen and Melissa out, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. Alex, I'm so sorry. I had no idea what Mom was doing. Can we talk? I didn't reply, not yet. Later that evening, I sat in my restored office, reading the company-wide email announcing the leadership changes. My name was listed, along with my new title. But this wasn't about titles anymore. It was about standing up to those who thought they could bulldoze their way through my hard work, who mistook nepotism for loyalty. A message popped up from Mr. Chen. Glad to have you back, Ms. Chen. Let's discuss that expansion plan you proposed last month. I looked out the window at the city skyline, reflecting on everything that had happened. About power, family, and the true meaning of loyalty. Helen and Melissa had tried to weaponize family ties against me, but they'd forgotten something crucial. Real success isn't inherited, manipulated, or stolen. It's earned. The stock rebounded the next day, jumping 10% on news of the leadership changes. I had my team back, my position back, and most importantly, my dignity. As for Helen and Melissa, last I heard, they were planning to start a mother-daughter influencer account. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just succeeding. It's succeeding so spectacularly that those who tried to tear you down are forced to watch from the sidelines powerless. The next time someone tells me, family helps family, I'll remember this. Real family lifts each other up. They don't tear each other down. And sometimes the most professional response to unprofessional behavior is simply being better than they ever thought you could be.